your badge number, by the way?
Matt Reardon, the Oxford Outlaw. When freedom is outlawed, only the outlaws will be free.
Behind something that you should know is wrong, it's something that's not even taken seriously.
In today's episode, I'm going to discuss several key topics which are extremely alarming to me. They should be alarming to many of you, and topics that 100% deserve a fully truthful and transparent answer. Today I'm going to edge right into my story, tell you more about me, more about this project, more about the city of Oxford and Lafayette County, for the sole purpose of you having a better, more educated perception and opinion of the magnitude of everything. As I said in the first episode, my goal here is to provide facts, but it's also to seek answers, to get a better understanding myself of why everything happened the way it did, to track the transformations and transfer of power throughout that city and county, and to expose corruption as it's found in order to hold those in power responsible. I'll discuss and provide clips of recent interaction with law enforcement agencies who are derelicting their absolute duties that the citizens pay them to do through way of their paychecks. That is, of course, if they're still getting a paycheck, but of course they are, because it's your money and your future on the line. There are things that have been going on that make zero sense. In essence, it's like they're taking the gun paid for by you, the citizen, and turning the gun around on the citizens themselves with intent to harm. And harm they are, with examples like Army General Michael Flynn surfacing. The FBI investigating him without any formidable cause to do so. Even surveillancing him through illegal wiretap campaigns throughout the Obama administration, which Obama himself even knew about. Then, after lying themselves in order to rig this sham investigation, they came to the charge that Michael Flynn lied to the FBI, the biggest liars of them all. They invoked fear in Michael Flynn by using his own son in order to make him plea out to a crime he never committed. One problem: the truth surfaced. They got caught. It's only so long that lies can carry before their rotten smell gives them away. You'll see strikingly similar characteristics of what happened to me 3 years ago, and how those very same tactics, left unchecked to fester and grow, spell disaster for our society, our rights, and the very freedoms we enjoy. And finally, a tribute to a man that took a stand and put it all on the line, in the same place that I did. His name was Anthony Hervey, and just like I was, highly misunderstood. But one you'll never forget, along with the gigantic and courageous heart, which quickly shows when you get a closer in-depth knowledge of Anthony. We'll look at and discuss some of the very stands he took to help preserve and protect our constitutional rights as free citizens. We'll also look at his beliefs and concerns for society at the time, prior to him being run off the road and killed exactly 5 years ago while returning home to Oxford, Mississippi from a flag rally. I'm honored to call Anthony both my brother and my friend, one that I could always learn more from. And I'd like to dedicate this ride today to Anthony, and I believe he's with me right now so as to help keep me on the right path, doing the right thing, and not going astray. Being unwavering in my stance, our stance, and holding tight to our rights, I'll uncover and produce every shroud of evidence of corruption, specifically public corruption stemming from an official capacity that I possess currently and will obtain in the near future. I'm on a mission. I'm determined, and I'm unwavering. I have no problem doing the job that certain law enforcement agencies won't do, that attorneys won't help me with. I'll go it alone. I figured out not too long ago that this was likely going to be a modern-day David versus Goliath, and I'm too far in and committed to turn back now. After all, this is my life and my rights. I can't and won't allow this to stand. It's time to right the wrong and settle the score. It's late in the fourth quarter. I'm on the 20-yard line, 6 points down. Are you ready to ride with the outlaw? For those who don't know, my name is Matt Reardon. This is my story, and you are riding with the outlaw. Stay tuned.
Good afternoon, U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to figure out who I need to speak with. Who oversees y'all's department?
It's the Department of Justice. Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Okay. Would I need to contact Jackson, or I'm trying to? I feel like y'all's main job is not being done at all. I mean, I'm a citizen of the state of Mississippi. I was framed in what I think is the largest public corruption scandal. It involves people in the local government in Oxford. I've been calling now for 2 weeks. I've been leaving messages. I got a call that I missed last Friday, and I left a message, a voicemail 2 days ago. I don't know what could be more important. Like, in 2 weeks' time, not getting one phone call. Y'all are the U.S. Attorney's Office, and something this big, somebody should have reached out to me by now.
Okay, one moment. I'm unable to assist you in this situation because I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But I'm going to transfer you to someone who can hopefully help you.
I hope I can speak to somebody finally.
This is Robin. Sorry I'm away from my phone right now. If you'd leave a message, I will call you back as soon as possible. Thank you.
Robin, this is Matt Reardon. I left you a message 2-3 days ago now. I've been calling up there for about the past 2 weeks in regards to what I think is quite likely one of the largest public corruption scandals in the state of Mississippi. And I can't even get the U.S. Attorney's Office to give me a call back. It's a damn shame. So clearly I'm probably just going to have to go this route on my own. I take it that just not even getting a call back, the U.S. Attorney's Office is not interested in investigating this, much less hearing about it. So if you're in the office today, please give me a call back, 662-32. I got to be honest with you. It really, really bothers me because the agency's tasked with protecting the American people through not even responding, do not even help, are hurting the American citizens. And I'd like to think that that's not what's going on up there. But 2 weeks' time, and I've stressed the importance of this, my time is running out. The statute of limitations is running out. Please give me a call, 662-32. Thank you.
All in all, those are the proven corrupt acts of our government branches.
and its complete abuses of power that caused me to lose trust and hope in our government. Lack of trust and faith in our government's alphabet agencies by ways of these agencies selectively enforcing the law, and even worse, persecuting innocent citizens based on political reasons. Politics has absolutely no place in law enforcement, and it definitely has no place in the courts. The courts should condemn this behavior. Sanctions and slap on the wrist are never enough when it comes to the rights of a citizen being trampled on at the hands of a public corruption scam. Public corruption, especially involving government officials working in an official capacity, warrant nothing shy, in my opinion, of capital punishment due to its absolute treasonous nature, not to mention the peace, dignity, and integrity of the state and our government that may never fully recover. The true criminals seemingly are never sought, and even more, never prosecuted. Instead, law-abiding citizens are accused of crimes they did not nor would not ever commit. They are pressured, and some are even threatened through targeting of others close to them. The threat of lengthy incarceration and the concern that every parent should have of both providing for and being there for their children. I didn't stand a chance on my own at the time everything happened, when you take into consideration all the different factors in one of the best thought out, highly connected, and tightly woven conspiracies that protected those involved, being that all three branches of local government, the executive, legislative, and even judicial, were involved, along with multiple attorneys and at least one federal three-letter alphabet agency, the FBI. It was local law enforcement that framed me. It was law enforcement on a federal level that stood by doing absolutely nothing at all, while all along having proof that I couldn't have possibly committed the crime in question. It was no different than a lifeguard whose sole job is to keep watch and to keep those swimming safe. What would you do? What would you think if you saw the lifeguard standing around with his hand in a cookie jar just watching a child drown? Especially if you were too far away to save the kid yourself. You'd feel as if the lifeguard caused the child to die by neglect from not acting. Anger, confusion, and untrusting of that lifeguard would be pretty fair emotions that most would exhibit. Would you allow your child to swim unattended under that lifeguard's watch? Or would that one incident cause you to permanently lose trust in that lifeguard? Even all lifeguards, for that matter. Now imagine being framed for something way out in left field. Imagine being treated like a prisoner at Guantanamo Bay, being shackled at the wrist, waist, and ankles in an orange jumpsuit, and walked via 2 to 3 deputies out in the most public of spaces and into the famous and ancient courthouse in the middle of the city where over the weeks prior you had so proudly stood, cherishing and showing public support for the very freedoms afforded to every citizen. The freedoms that now landed you in this very place, and done for 3 reasons in particular. One of them being a publicity stunt brought about through their all-out assassination of a private citizen's rights. Shockingly, that's not the worst. I'm directly holding the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office accountable for turning a blind eye and choosing to obstruct, in their own ways, my ability to properly seek vindication based on evidence. The local government will have to answer to several integrity questions posed, such as their so easily allowing banishment on a sentence, and also its protecting its dirty ways through methods such as covenants to not sue. I intend to prove that which I already know, the motive, the reasons for which, why I was the fall guy for this. My experiences are like something you'd read in a John Grisham novel. But this is not a John Grisham book. After all, nobody can write the book about me better than me, as it was me who lived my life and witnessed these atrocities. And after everything, it's changed me. It's hardened me. My fears have changed, feeling numb to the things that caused fear before. In fact, just about the only fear recirculating through me is fear of failure. Fear of them winning and getting away with everything at the expense of my liberties and happiness in life. Fortunately, however, it's made me more patriotic than ever to help prevent others and future generations from experiencing the same types of injustices. And that is what I have to look forward to. My mentality is in fact that of a sovereign citizen. I am independent and not relying on our government to survive, or to help me for that matter. And so long as these types of injustices continue to happen, I will stay that way, because I was independent in the wake and aftermath of a well-plotted combination of events that left me completely strained and feeling hopeless, both mentally and financially.
My name is Matt Reardon, also known as the Oxford Outlaw. I'm here in front of the Lafayette County Courthouse, where it all first started in May of 2017, where I was unlawfully arrested May 1st, standing in front of the Confederate statue on public property holding the state flag of Mississippi. That unraveled a series of events that ultimately led to my banishment and framing on a crime that I couldn't have possibly committed. Writing with the Outlaw is my story, where I unearth all the details and prove every element of this heinous corruption scandal in order to try to prevent this type of atrocity from happening again. Make sure you follow along on my website, www.writingwiththeoutlaw.com, as well as check out the video section on YouTube and the Oxford Outlaw Facebook page for more details.
Oxford Outlaw Matt Reardon returns to Oxford after nearly 3 years to investigate, document, and ultimately vindicate himself. Matt Reardon was unlawfully arrested and illegally confined on May 26, 2017, until July 6, when he was coerced under extreme stress to plea out to a crime he never committed and couldn't possibly have committed in order to see and ultimately get his daughter back into his life. To add insult to injury, in what seemed like an unreal and unimaginable nightmare, a mandatory part of his involuntary plea involved being banished from the city and county for the term of his probation, 5 years, and signing a covenant to not sue the sheriff's department, the city, the county, any officers involved, any city or county elected official, or any city or county employee. They thought they had every angle tied up, one big problem for them. Actually, two. First, Matt got off probation at halftime just 2.5 years. The second, being the county opening the door, giving him every legitimate reason to legally bypass the covenant to not sue when even more corruption started to surface at some of the highest levels, including the county and sheriff's department, refusing to comply with a Public Records Freedom of Information Act request after the sheriff's department admitted in the last batch of documents requested that Deputy Jared Bundren had received a mystery phone call on May 24, 2017, just 2 days before Reardon was ambushed on the square in Oxford, Mississippi, and arrested by 4 sheriff's investigators, including Bundren. Not long into his discovery phase, he realizes that there is much more involvement in this plot. The FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office refused to get involved and have refused to look at any evidence. Maybe that's because they played a big part in this scandal even happening in the first place. It became increasingly evident when the FBI completely refused to comply with a public records request to produce an investigative report called a 302, which would have been generated from a sit-down meeting Reardon had with 2 agents on May 25, 2017. Reardon took the advisement of an assistant U.S. attorney and sat down with the 2 agents at the local field branch office in Oxford, Mississippi on May 25, 2017. It is during this meeting where Reardon shows proof of a death threat being made on him and further proving Reardon's innocence in the all-out attack on Reardon and his rights the very next day. It is during this meeting also that Reardon discusses how he purchased an AR-15 for self-defense on May 20th, 2017, and he also discussed how his First Amendment rights were brutally attacked due to a cheap shot injunction taken out by the soon-to-be mayor-elect and her husband, essentially barring him from addressing City Hall on the day of the election, June 6, 2017, which he was already listed on the published agenda for. Since that time, the FBI has sat back taking a silent approach, even making reference to the fact that they could not locate the 302 investigative report, which would accurately show everything, along with any surveillance gathered from that meeting. In trying to combat trickle-down corruption, which he names as one of the biggest threats to society, Oxford outlaw Matt Reardon bravely continues to get closer and closer to the fire as he finds more and more government involvement and pushback from the same ones that plotted to frame him, silence him, get rid of him, and ultimately destroy his life back in 2017. It's a race against the clock. And Matt is a man on a mission in an all-out war on corruption to reclaim his rights and his life, which were so brutally destroyed by the careless, selfish, and shockingly corrupt acts of this local government and the ones who assisted in helping to cover everything up. We stand for freedom, liberty, and the Constitution. We will combat all those who are corrupt. We are America's insurance policy. We will not see our republic fall. We are everywhere. We are the 3%. While that motto energizes me to the fullest and truly is one of my favorites, it's way more than just your run-of-the-mill motto. That is a key motto among a band of brothers that I became a part of back in 2017 called the 3%ers. I guess from an unofficial standpoint, I became part of them back in 2008 when I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I would bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I would obey the orders of the President of the United States. But hey, who's counting time? Especially at a time where there's more of it than we know what to do with in light of this latest pandemic, the coronavirus. If anything, even somewhat positive came from the government intervening with businesses and with the issuances of stay-at-home orders. It was that it gave me some time to move forward on preparing everything to come forward with my story from 2017. When anyone is backed far enough into the corner to a point of not having any perceivable breathing room, instilled human instinct is to fight back. That proverbial last straw that was hanging by a thread broke not so long ago when for the third time in 3 years, my almost 6-year-old daughter was used as a chess piece against me in a staged war of the courts by her mother, who in my opinion should have been committed to a mental asylum many years ago. But that's a different story for a different day. This is about justice, but not just for me. Because at the end of the day, no matter how cut and dry the evidence is that I was framed by a ridiculously corrupt local government, taken over by some of the most heartless, careless, and quite frankly dangerous people when banded together the way they did back in 2017. I say that with 100% full confidence. And while some may not side with me, we all know the extent the Democrat Party will go in order to ensure a win. So be it if morals and decency get completely tossed away. We've seen example after example of it over the last 5 years. So my story, when all laid out, should not come as a complete and total shock to most, although the particular details of everything are absolutely disgusting. And as such, these people should absolutely be brought to justice. And I would hope that after hearing the details, the FBI would conduct a non-biased, thorough investigation into the facts of everything in order to do just that. It was not long after President Trump took office and all the proof had surfaced in regards to the extreme corruption shown by the Democrats to obstruct and break any law and moral code they needed in order to accomplish their set-out agenda. There were many people that thought I was crazy for taking the counter stance that I took, standing up for conservative values, but ultimately for standing up for our constitutional rights and those rights which make us the constitutional republic that we are. I never had an issue standing up and speaking my mind on any issue. And while I may have disagreed myself with the views of others, I always believed they had a right to voice their opinions. There were many loudmouth liberals that called me every name under the sun, even threatened. My own family was confused as to why I so adamantly held firm on my beliefs and wasn't afraid to walk into a lion's den of those who had a different opinion. And a big chunk of them sharing similar opinions of others in the room, being that they didn't want me there and they wanted me silenced. That leads on to one of my favorite quotes by a man named Steve Jobs, founder of a company called Apple. While Steve and I probably came from two completely different sides of the political spectrum, I can find vast amounts of appreciation in his key quote, which reads as follows. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square hole, the ones who see things differently. They're not quite fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. I would say that I've always been patriotic to the core, and that dedication and true patriotism peaked in me for the first time when I enlisted into the United States Marine Corps back in December of 2007. It would peak again at an even higher level, just shy of a decade later, when our Constitution and the very things I believed in and took an oath to defend came under siege. And all in about a month's time, my rights were laid siege to, and all of it ushered in by a well-formed group of co-conspirators and obstructionists, which are two fancy and lengthy names for the types of disgusting, low-life criminals these people truly are. See, I was framed on a crime I did not commit. I was framed on a crime I could not possibly have committed. I was presumed guilty until proven innocent. And due process under color of law, and that which all citizens are to be afforded under the United States Constitution, was never given to me. The only thing these animals had going in their favor was fear-mongering and coercion tactics, the left-wing media propaganda, and the assumed power given to them under their appointed authorities. The craziest part is that all but maybe one or two still hold their same appointed or elected positions to this day. But with most of America fed up with scandals such as this atrocity, the time is now for true justice to be rendered, and for me to clear my name in an attempt to get my life back, my rights back, and to truly walk from that city and county knowing that it wasn't for nothing, and that justice was served by a non-biased and fair judicial system that respects and preserves due process and isn't out for a tacky decimation of another's rights and life for political purposes and social gain.
I needed to get a little Q&A with you.
I don't do Q&As.
You don't do Q&As?
No.
Well, can you answer a few questions for me?
No, I can't.
Why is the county not wanting to comply on the public records request? You told me...
You probably have to ask the county, man.
You told me that if I submitted it, y'all would comply. That was the last time that we spoke.
I told you we'd look at it.
You said no. You said that we'll comply. You said submit it and we'll comply. Why haven't I gotten? Why haven't I gotten the? Really, Sheriff, is this really the position you're going to take? Why won't you even answer that?
Ambushes, so.
Look, hey, y'all will not respond to anything, any email, any public records request, anything. I want to know why. I am holding our county officials accountable for this. You know I was framed. We've already had that discussion, Joey.
You plead guilty?
You know I was framed.
You need to plead guilty?
Huh? That was one of your ringleaders right there. That was one of your ringleaders right there.
Matt, did you plead guilty?
You know that y'all coerced me.
Did you plead guilty?
Y'all coerced me under stress and used my daughter.
I did?
Yeah, y'all twist. No, the Tannehills did. Is who really did it.
Did you plead guilty? Did you plead guilty?
I followed
That's
the
a fair
sham
question, right
advice.
with the outlaw.
Okay, well,
Did
hey,
you plead guilty?
why are y'all trying to protect? Who are you trying to protect? Is it that there's no call that came in, or is it that there's somebody like Robin Tannehill or Ray Tannehill that's on that call? I want to know.
Did you plead guilty?
Who's on the call?
Did you have an attorney?
Who's on the call? Was there a call or was there not a call?
I don't know what call
It was, but it was on the police report that I got from May 30th.
Whatever medicine you're on, I think you need to go take
Really?
some medicine or something.
Really?
Because I don't understand what you're talking about.
The response of the sheriff.
Pled guilty.
The response of the sheriff.
I got you something, man.
Oh, really? Hey, get away from me.
You seem angry.
Get any closer. Get any closer. Okay. Really?
Okay, man. Come
Really?
on. Take it. Dude, that's so
Get away from me with that cupcake. That bullshit.
Come on, man. That's ugly. That's ugly.
Hey, just so y'all know, I just want to remind you, Trump will be your president for the next 4 years. I know it doesn't sit very well with you, but that's exactly why Trump just got elected to another term.
Keystone, man.
Y'all are corrupt as you can be.
Keystone.
Corrupt as you can
You're
be.
so angry. What you angry about,
I'm
man?
pissed off y'all violated my fucking rights.
Man, come on. Take the cup.
And if that's been you that's been driving by Weiss family's house, you better fucking stop it, Scott.
Really? I've been driving by where?
It's been a black truck that's been driving by and stopping outside of the house.
Be careful now. You'll be back in my house here.
You're the one stalking me if that's you. I said if that's you.
You ain't seen
I said
nowhere.
if that's you.
No, sir. Alan just heard you say it was me coming by your house. Be careful.
No, I said if that was you. I got it on live stream.
Be careful. I know
Threaten
you
me
got it.
again.
Now, where
Y'all are corrupt as a son of a bitch. Man, shut the... Hey, I got what I needed. The sheriff, okay, I needed a Q&A. I needed answers as to why y'all are obstructing justice. Y'all are refusing to comply with a FOIA request as you've got to. Y'all are, look at this.
Why are you ambushing?
What? Okay, why did you threaten my wife with arrest for obstruction of justice if she changed the password on my Facebook or email?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You calling her a liar?
You should come.
You calling her a liar?
You should come to the front door.
Are you calling her a liar?
Like a man.
Look.
You should
A lot of the officers out here are great, I'm sure. But you know what? Their corrupt leadership is going to be the downfall of them. Their corrupt leadership is going to be the downfall of all the good officers.
Come to the front door and make an appointment and talk to the sheriff instead of ambushing.
In the Circuit Court of Lafayette County, Mississippi, Matthew Oliver Reardon versus State of Mississippi, cause number L20-316. This is a motion for relief from judgment or order. Comes now before the court, Matthew Reardon, the petitioner and plaintiff, and respectfully moves this court for relief from judgment. In cause number L20-316, petitioner would show just cause through the upcoming reasons listed. Showing to the court the following reasons Movan is entitled to relief. Fraud committed on behalf of Lafayette County officials and employees. A. MRCP Rule 5.1b3 states if a person is taken into custody, the person shall be taken without unnecessary delay, and in no event later than 48 hours after arrest, before a judge, who shall proceed with an initial appearance. The aforementioned cited rule goes on to state, if the person arrested is not taken before a judge within 48 hours, the person detained shall be released on execution of an appearance bond in the minimum amount set pursuant to Rule 8 and directed to appear at a specified time and place. Rule 5.1b3 conforms to the United States Supreme Court holdings in Gerstein v. Pugh. 2. That petitioner, Movan, was deprived of due process rights guaranteed to him by both state and federal law. Petitioner was unlawfully confined at the Lafayette County Detention Center for 6 weeks' time. Petitioner was denied the opportunity to obtain a lower bond amount that fell within reasonable guidelines which petitioner or his family could afford. Movan was held on a bond set 3 times higher than guidelines allow, despite the state of Mississippi not producing so much as a piece of evidence suggesting it had a valid claim. Petitioner in this cause asserted he had evidence to prove he couldn't have committed such a crime alleged, petitioner never being accused of a felonious crime prior, and absolutely no injuries inflicted upon the claimant. A habeas corpus petition was filed by the public defender demanding the sheriff of Lafayette County to bring petitioner before the court to show just cause for the illegal confinement of the petition. And while the petition approved to proceed via informa pauperis, petitioner was never brought before the court and was further illegally confined for an additional 4 weeks' time. Petitioner was never made aware of this habeas petition ever being filed until nearly 6 months later, when he found out on his own. This amounts to misrepresentation by petitioner's counsel, and petitioner has been requesting answers to no avail, making the petitioner question whether fraud had occurred, yet unsure where the true liability and responsibility falls. Due process rights entitle the defendant in a cause to receive a preliminary hearing to determine if there is enough evidence warranting the defendant to stand trial. Petitioner was never afforded a preliminary trial within 14 days as required by law, which in the absence of a preliminary hearing within 14 days requires that the defendant be released on his own personal recognizance and be given a court date and time. This never happened. All requests by petitioner to have his bond lowered to a constitutionally fit amount when completely ignored after being given a bond amount that was 3 times higher than the maximum guidelines established less than a year prior by the Mississippi Supreme Court. That established guidelines called for an alleged crime punishable
by a maximum up to 10 years incarceration to be set in the range of $5,000 to $50,000. Petitioner's alleged crime, yada yada. The crime Movant was accused of included a maximum fine of $3,000 and a maximum incarceration of 5 years. The bond set in this case was nowhere in the vicinity of established guidelines set by the Mississippi Supreme Court. Movant petitioner never caused any physical harm to anyone, had never been accused of a felony crime prior to this allegation. Bond is not supposed to be set in a punitive way, only to ensure the defendant shows up to appearances. Movant/petitioner had pending ongoing litigation against Lafayette County due to a highly contestable arrest made on May 1st, 2017, when Movant was arrested for disorderly conduct, simply for standing on public property holding the then state flag of Mississippi. Movant states that it is this reason, along with his child and girlfriend at the time, which would have easily shown and conveyed the fact that Movant was not a flight risk, not to mention Movant is a Marine Corps veteran that had never had any prior history of being a flight risk. Therefore, it is entirely the impression of the Movant that bond was used in a punitive way by a Justice Court Judge, Carolyn Bell, that has had a history of setting bonds in the lower end of bond guidelines. Movant petitioner was held, restricted, suppressed, and illegally confined in the Lafayette County Detention Center from the time of his arrest on May 26, 2017 until he received an initial bond hearing on May 30th. This amounted to nearly 96 hours before Movant was brought before a judge. This was twice the maximum length allowable under Mississippi Rules of Criminal Procedure, which was readopted less than a year prior. Movant was not only denied a reasonable bond for Lafayette County's egregious errors, but Justice Court Judge Carolyn Bell's bond issued appearance bond of $150,000 for a presumably innocent American by long-standing court precedents showed bond being used in a punitive way to influence the outcome of a sham legal proceeding, which was initiated by Lafayette County in the state of Mississippi, its employees, along with elected and appointed officials under knowingly false pretenses. The fact that Movant was interrupted by Judge Bell and advised of his Fifth Amendment rights on 2 separate occasions when he tried to show information up front, which would show the impossibility of Movant to have committed the alleged crime, should concern and frighten every American. Petitioner asserts incomplete confidence what all concluding evidence would demonstrate as a clearly shown political attack on petitioner by way of criminal conspiracy, racketeering, organized crime, and the successful deprivation and continued deprivation of the petitioner's rights. Petitioner Movant states that his life was completely ruined and millions of splinters sent ripping through the area and surrounded area.
What it is, it's kicking the can down to the next person. There's a whole bunch of plausible deniability that's going on, and nobody just wants to step up and handle the real problem at hand. Meanwhile, somebody that's been truly victimized by lies and false allegations continues to get more and more victimized, continues to have this child. My child is, I haven't seen my child since January 20th. While my newborn was in Le Bonheur Hospital, had my 6-year-old Lydia for visitation, dropped her off with her mom, and then that's when all the shit happened. She called in a false claim to child services, tried to claim that my wife had hit her. It was another complete lie. My daughter even told child services. Never happened. Child services dismissed it as a complete lie, unfounded. Meanwhile, I still haven't seen my child because then, oops, COVID hits. Court shut down. She starts invoking child services name into her lies to say that they advised not to let me see my child. Meanwhile, $600 a month in child support's paid out to her. Scandalous, scandalous, scandalous. Every single letter of the word monstrous applies when it comes to this. I've got some stories for you. these stories, it's an ongoing building block into 3 different books that I'm working on. One of them is about writing with the Outlaw, my adventures in being politically charged, politically framed, having all the evidence of government involvement, deep state involvement, a bunch of corrupt attorneys, even the courts. The second one's going to be about all the shenanigans with Phyllis Liz Crowder, my ex, mother of my child. The false, just insanity that encompasses that. All the frivolous, false claims, and my stand against it. Even when it came to having to represent myself, because I couldn't find an attorney to help me. Meanwhile, she's got attorneys bending over backwards to help defend her lies. I'm pretty sure on a third, and that'll be the more familial aspect about how my family turned their back on me, especially at a time that I needed them the most, especially in seeing the undeniable proof, seeing me steadily drowning more and more, sinking in quicksand, and yet it's one thing not to contribute and help out. It's another thing to actually completely turn your back on somebody that is struggling with the particular things that I've run into with all the adversity, the biggest challenges of my life, having to be one man going up against a ridiculously corrupt system that continues to break laws, that continues to carry their witch hunt on. I need a prayer. This is Matt Reardon. You've been riding with the Outlaw. Take care, guys.
They call me the Outlaw. Haha. I still ain't finished this up. What am I thinking? What am I doing? I ain't got but half a verse written. And if I'd really put my mind to it, I'd have lyrics sicker than Eminem. Yeah, you know who it is. Might been cold for a little while. From Keystone Kid to Kilo Jones, ask Scott Mills why they call me the Outlaw. All the time reminding rhymes, low blow, racketeer and pay for play. You filthy Democrat, another one just for fun. I think it's him, he's back again. Oh shit, it's Matt. Played my fam against me, thought you had the win. I guess it's easy to think when you looking at a grandstanding room of criminals with a gun and a badge. I forgot about Timmy, does he have his back? And that's where I left off. I gotta get that finished here within the next month. By the end of the month, I'm gonna get at it. Meanwhile, these damn criminals, a racket unlike anything I ever imagined. They're steadily stacking more and more paper on me, more and more court dates, more and more judges. Salty. But it's gonna be the same outcome. Innocent. 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 Because at the end of the day, the truth prevails and the guilty will fall. This is Matt Reardon. I am the Oxford Outlaw. I want to thank you for taking a ride this afternoon with the Outlaw.